Hi, Jim Jordan here for Citizens Legal Education. Many of you know that I've been in the healthcare field for coming up on 20 years, another 9 months or so, and my commitment has been to helping people heal from all kinds of health problems, chronic health issues with natural healing. I myself got involved in natural healing in my 20s when I'd been very sick, and I got well. But also before I was in natural healing, I was a lawyer, and I didn't stay in law for very long. But I have a law degree. I practice law, and I've also taught some legal education courses for alternative healthcare practitioners. And in the last 15 years or so, I've become more and more concerned about our system, our rights being infringed by the government, whether they're healthcare freedom rights or other rights to be, right to privacy or right to free speech. And it's becoming more of a concern. Every day we're hearing things about, in California, the vaccine mandate laws. There's people who are being told, being prosecuted for living off the grid, even on their own property, for collecting rainwater on their own property. There's, of course, the constant NSA spying on citizens without a probable cause or search warrant. There's indefinite detention where American citizens can be detained without a trial, without a lawyer, without the ability to confront their accusers. The same has happened on these no-fly lists now. There's no due process rights afforded to people put on those lists, and there's basically no way to guarantee or protect yourself from the government interfering in your liberties. So things are getting, if possible, they're getting worse than when I was in my 20s when I was a young lawyer. I thought it was bad enough then, but I saw an interview recently with some college students who think it's just fine that the NSA is spying. What have we got to worry about if we're not doing anything wrong? There's just no understanding of what the United States Constitution has offered us in terms of freedom and protection and proper orientation of the citizen being the primary sovereign in society and the government being our servant. So that's missing. So what I'm talking about today is many people are wondering, I think, from my social media blogging and posting about why I'm such a strong advocate for the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms that prohibits the government from infringing upon that right. When I'm in the healthcare field, I'm a natural healer. Why would a person who wants to heal and protect people from harm be an advocate of a citizen's right to have a very dangerous weapons? Okay, obviously we're talking about guns now, and that's a very good question. Should alternative healthcare practitioners just not be concerned about that? Not that they should or shouldn't, but why are some of us concerned about that? Why are some of us concerned about that right? So the way I look at it, let me give you a little story about how I came to this conclusion. I think it's a critical right, whether you personally have firearms or know how to use them or not. I believe all Americans should back a strong protection of Second Amendment rights, which includes not the government not prohibiting access to what are called assault rifles, but they're actually just semi-automatic rifles with standard capacity magazines. All those restrictions are not productive. In fact, they're dangerous. When the government restricts access to weapons, when the state governments make it hard to carry a concealed weapon for a citizen who's a law-abiding citizen, it's dangerous to society. It's dangerous to that person. It's a problem. So let me give you a little thing that really experience that really opened my eyes to how important it is that people that are strong advocates of liberal positions on free speech and more conservatives that are strong on the Second Amendment, how they can work together. So back in 2011, when there was all these Occupy Wall Street movements around the country, many of us saw on the news or on videos, at least in internet videos, private people videotaping citizens who were protesting peacefully being pepper sprayed and beaten and attacked by the police. We saw that, and that all died out, those protests, right? But when I saw a video some months later from an Occupy Wall Street type protest in Arizona, And there was a guy interviewing a big guy who's had his AR-15 rifle and a bunch of other guys in sort of military fatigues that were part of a militia, a border patrol citizen private militia, who were standing between the protesters and the police. They're back to the protesters. They're facing the police. The police are there, probably, who knows, maybe the police had no bad intentions, but in the past we'd seen that the police would beat and try to break up these protests. Of course, they're at the request of the establishment that doesn't want people to be aware, doesn't want the average citizen to be aware of what the protesters were protesting. So these guys, probably about a dozen or more men were standing there, and they were interviewed. They said, they asked, "Why were you here?" They said, "We're here exercising our Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms, and we're standing here between the police and the protesters to make sure the police do not interfere with this protest." That is what it has come to, and that protest went on fine. No, the police didn't disturb it. They left the people alone. That is where the Tea Party people and the progressive people came together to have their First and Second Amendment rights exercised and expressed in a way that was peaceful and made a clear message to the establishment, to the government, to the police, that these protesters will not be interfered with. And they were not interfered with. The Second Amendment is to protect. It's not about hunting. It's not about defending yourself from a burglar. Those are just assumed to be natural rights, that you didn't have to get permission from the government. The Second Amendment was to protect the people from government. That's what it's there for. You look at all the Founding Fathers' writings about this topic. It was for that purpose. That referred to the militia, the Second Amendment. The militia is the people, the general population. So that really drove home to me how crucial it is that a strong Second Amendment is protected by all people, progressives, liberals, moderate, conservative, Tea Party people, everybody should protect this amendment. It's crucial. Nobody wants criminals to have access to weapons. Okay, they're already prohibited from buying them if you have a criminal record. Nobody wants that. Criminals find weapons anyway. It's not about that. It's not even about crime. So, the average criminal situation. There's a lot of causes of that. Having the average law-abiding citizen have a gun is not contributing to crime. They don't commit crimes, the average person. Crimes are caused by poverty, by the war on drugs, which should be illegal. Drugs should be legalized. There's a lot of reasons that we have crime, but the fact that there's firearms in society isn't going to change that. Crimes will be committed by criminals, with or without lots of firearms in society. It happens in every country. Whether you ban guns or not, crime stays the same or sometimes goes up. Okay, firearms crime might reduce for a while, but that's it. So what we have basically a situation where we have to look at the entire Bill of Rights, everything: freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom to assemble peacefully, the freedom to bear arms, the right to due process, the right to trial by jury, the right to be free from unusual punishment, cruel and unusual punishment. All of that, the Ninth Amendment, the unenumerated rights, all those come together as a package. That's what we have to stand for. That's why I'm standing for it, because it affects our right to choose health care too. I mean, a lot of people we can't get access to alternative cancer treatments because they're basically illegal. The government, through different agencies, prosecute these doctors who are treating people successfully with alternative methods. So it's the government that infringes upon our access to options that the free market would naturally provide. So that's it. So in summary, basically, the Thomas Jefferson said it perfectly. If the people are afraid of government, there's tyranny. If the government is afraid of people, there is freedom. So my understanding now, I was never into firearms. I'm still not that into them. I just believe in the right to bear arms to protect ourselves from government. Government, which is the same thing as the corporate oligarchy that runs government. It's no different for liberals who understand it's the corporate interest. It's one and the same thing. No difference. To protect ourselves, to put that layer of protection that those men provided in Arizona for the Occupy Wall Street people in Phoenix, Occupy whatever you call it in Phoenix, was the manifestation of the purpose of the Second Amendment right there. So firearms are very dangerous. So people should only use them and learn how to use them if they're willing to be involved with something that's that dangerous. It's not for everybody. But for those of us who've decided to learn how to use them for self-defense and to protect our rights, encourage us. Believe in it. Believe in its law-abiding citizens' integrity and honor, and don't second guess that. If a person commits a crime, that's different. They should be prosecuted. But the average person that I know that's involved in firearms is a very good person. They're not committing crimes. And they're doing this for for the good of themselves, their family, and the country. So, yeah, there was a quote from G. Edward Griffin talked about, he wrote something about the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is really about freedom, and it's the teeth in the Bill of Rights. And although firearms are dangerous, there's only one thing more dangerous, and that's a disarmed citizenry. So it's Jim Jordan for Citizens Legal Education speaking today about the Second Amendment. Wishing you a wonderful day.